Alright, let's talk about the latest episode of Game of Thrones. Warning, this is absolute spoilers for episode 3 and also for the episode 4 preview. So if you haven't seen either of those, I am going to spoil the hell out of you. Also, at the end of this video, there is a giveaway for a gift card, so if you really don't want to hear me ramble on for however many minutes this is, you can always just skip to the end. So we opened where we left off, at the wall. At first seeing Davos staring, I wondered if we skipped ahead in time, but no, he was staring at a newly revived Jon Snow sitting up. The creaking noises as Jon sat up were wonderfully done. Not only did it sound like the wood that was frozen and creaking, but it actually sounded like it was coming from his body as well. Kit Harington played an extremely cold body coming back to life really well. All of his movements were incredibly stiff and slow. I honestly felt like I was watching someone that was using his body again after basically being in a freezer for so long. So kudos to Kit Harington. I kind of wondered about his acting ability in the first couple seasons, but as time has gone on, he has just gotten better and better and better, and this scene really highlighted how far he's come. Melisandre comes in and looks just as freaked out as Davos. She is just astonished that it worked. So great acting on her part as well, and then of course she hardly misses a beat before asking Jon what he saw. Jon's response? Nothing. Nothing at all. Which means Jon Snow now officially knows nothing. Very clever show writers. I tip my hat to you. I tip my hat. I do think this is their way of saying Jon didn't warg into ghosts, though, as he had a similar afterlife experience as Beric. There is no other side. I've been to the darkness. Of course, then, Melisandre, whose faith is becoming reignited by Jon coming back, tells Jon that Stannis wasn't the prince that was promised, and someone has to be. The Lord of Light brought him back for a reason, which understandably leads to Davos asking Melisandre to leave so he can talk to Jon. Here's where I think Jon's true character came out. He was just killed by his own men. He's now back. His first thought wasn't revenge. It wasn't, fuck those guys. His first thought was, I failed. I thought I was doing what was best, and he contemplates whether he was wrong. He tried, he failed. How many people are like that in the world? The normal response to someone fucking you over is, fuck those guys! That's unfair what they did to me! Fuck you! And Jon's response is, I failed. I tried to do something and I failed, and gosh, was I wrong in what I was doing? I didn't think I was wrong. He didn't instantly jump to, screw those people for what they did to me. His was contemplation on himself as a person and what he did, and that he was the one that failed, not other people and not their actions, which I think speaks volumes to the Jon that we had come back. There was a lot of worry that Jon wasn't going to be himself when he came back to life, and he's not going to be. I'll talk about that in a little bit. He's obviously changed, but he's not this evil, cruel person come back to life like some of us worried about. Davos' speech to Jon was fantastic. Honestly, he has the best speeches, period, especially in this season. I would pay good money for him to deliver me a pep speech every Monday. So when Jon says he failed, Davos tells him, good, now go fail again. And I love the difference between Davos and Melisandre. Davos is concerned about Jon and giving him a pep talk, letting him know that failure isn't the end. Well, it could have been, but it wasn't this time. Melisandre wants to know more about Jon's experiences and is instantly trying to push a prophecy on him. Davos cares about Jon. Mel cares about her god and prophecy, which is a huge reason why her and Davos don't get along very well. Well, one of many reasons. Jon walking out so the men of the Night's Watch and wildlings can see him led to one of the best lines of the episode. Tormund, they think you're a god. Jon states he isn't one, and Tormund responds, I know. I saw your pecker. What kind of god would have a pecker that small? I was really excited about that Tormund dick joke, and I feel like to fully understand how obnoxiously happy I was about it, I need to read to you from my notes from that scene. Dick joke. Oh my god, Tormund made a dick joke. Praise D&D, we finally got more Tormund dick jokes. 1,000 exclamation marks. I was very excited about the dick joke. And the bromance was real this episode. Tormund got a hug, Ed got a hug, Ed voiced what we were all concerned about. Is that really you in there? At the end of the show, we see that Jon is executing Bowen, Ollie, Thorne, and extra guy we don't care about but mentioned White Harbor, so that made me happy. I like when Jon was asking for final words, and Thorne goes, "Oh, I did what I thought was right. You brought to the wall a bunch of murderers and raiders. You know who you were surrounded with before the wildlings, right, Elser? Thieves, rapists, murderers, I mean, kind of calling the kettle black, aren't you?" There is one thing that I think a lot of people are going to miss, and I don't watch other reviews, so everyone could have pointed this out by now, but I'm almost 100% sure that no one else saw this in the execution scene. So I watched this episode twice on 2 different devices, and if you don't have high definition, it's really hard to see. But if you look closely, and I tried to capture this on my high definition device, you can see Ollie's mustache. The execution scene was also important to show where Jon is at. We saw contemplation, sadness, remorse, hesitation. He even looked sad looking at Ollie, like he wanted to cut him down. This isn't heartless Jon come back. This is a man that's now scarred by knowing firsthand that you can do the right thing and still be wrong, or still be killed for it. He has to live with the experience of being murdered, and remembering that when he was dead, there was nothing. I kind of take Jon Snow's look before he cuts the rope of him thinking about that. Thinking that that's where he's about to send these 4. To nothing. And how terrifying that thought is. His eyes are just haunted. Then as they're dying, we see a flash of anger from Jon. Despite being haunted and sad, he does feel that anger towards them. And probably relief at them paying for their crime. So my friends, our watch has ended. Ollie is dead. And we got a super awkward close-up of his little blue face. Because they really wanted us to know that Ollie was a piece of shit, and we should all be happy that he's dead. They didn't want to do a close-up on any of the other men. You know, maybe the guy that was an antagonist against Jon in maybe the first season, but no, that little boy. That little boy in his little Hitler stash. Now you know. And while Jon was looking at Ollie, his look did go from anger to more of a look of sadness, which I think is another really important thing to show that Jon isn't just a heartless monster. Jon gave Ed leadership, or the option of taking leadership. Poor Ed. Finally gets his friend back, and he leaves him. There's so few of the Black brothers left, I wonder if they'll just accept Ed as the new Lord Commander without a vote. Because if we go by historically, yeah, he's going to be in control until a new election takes place. But who knows the route they're gonna go. Jon's last line, "My watch has ended," was so sad. Even though we don't have evil back from the dead Jon, we definitely have a changed Jon. I imagine he's going to get a cloak before going anywhere, and I'd also imagine that Davos and Melisandre are going to follow him wherever he goes. And I'm hoping this is Jon going to Winterfell to kick some ass. And I kinda hope we're not going to do a funny timing thing where Jon leaves the wall and then Sansa finally gets to the wall and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, your brother's just been stabbed to death, we brought him back to life, and now he's on a hellbent quest to get Winterfell back." Why do you ask? I'm really hoping that he ends up running into Sansa on his way down to wherever he's going. I'm actually really excited for Jon's journey now, especially now that he's not at the wall. Gilly and Sam, I cannot wait for Sam to hear what happened to Jon. I wonder if Sam will stay part of the Night's Watch, or become a maester and then work for Jon if he happens to be sitting on something uncomfortable. Gilly was incredibly funny this episode. Sam, are you going to be sick, Sam? I'm excited to see Sam's family and his very awful father. Then we got another vision from Bran and Bloodraven, the Tower of Joy, or as I now refer to it as the Tower of Blue Balls. I will say that I was really looking forward to the Tower of Joy. This was something I've wanted to see for a very long time, and it did let me down a little bit. Some of it was great. The initial dialogue between the Kingsguard and Ned made my night. They didn't keep the whole conversation, but enough of it where I squealed. I sorta wish Ned did throw in the line of Jaime killing Aerys. That would have connected things a bit better for casual watchers. And this might just be me and how I first read the books and how I imagine things in my head, but seeing young people fighting made it click a bit more in a way. I read the first book so frighteningly long ago, and when you're reading Ned's point of view, you know that he was just a kid fighting for his life. People grow up faster in those type of societies, yes, but we forget that the brain still has its own timetable for development regardless of that. So actually seeing a very young Ned fighting for his life and for his sister just makes the whole event just so much more tragic. And yeah, young Ned is still much older than Ned in the books as they aged everyone up. So now imagine a guy even younger than this man that we saw, leading men against a dynasty. Like I said, it could have just been me, and I could still imagine in the books this young man fighting against this entire dynasty for his very life. But just seeing a young guy on screen and imagining that this is a young Ned just hit a little bit harder than I thought it would, and hit in a different way than the book ever did for me when Ned remembered this event. The 6 against 2 instead of the 7 against 3 was a bit odd. There was only 2 horses though when Ned and Co first come up, so either there really is only 2 Kingsguard or one of them was riding, what's the word, bitch pad? Bitch seat? I don't know. It's something with the word bitch, and you ride behind someone. So maybe one of the Kingsguard, oh my god, now I just thought about one of the Kingsguard riding bitch seat. Oh god. I thought Hightower was Went at first because of his sharpening his sword. Then later I found out he was actually Hightower and the Lord Commander. So perhaps Went is in the tower with Lyanna? If Lyanna actually is pregnant and is giving birth in the tower, I'd imagine he's in the tower to defend the baby and then is likely going to die. Or maybe he doesn't. There's some theories that he left the tower for some other mission. I'd imagine at the very least we'll see him in the tower with Ned's sister. Or not, because of the 2-horse thing. And I don't really care whether it's 7 versus 3 or 6 versus 2. That's a minor change from the books that's kind of like, whatever, even though I'm going to complain about a minor change in a little bit, which probably also is whatever. But what kind of bothers me about that is, in season 4, we see it written in an entry that Hightower was there with Went and Arthur Dayne, and that they all died together at the Tower of Joy defending it, which I understand that there has been tons of show errors, so it shouldn't be a big deal. It's just sometimes a little bit disappointing when they don't pay attention to their own canon and then start altering it based on budget and things like that. So I'm really hoping that the 3rd Kingsguard is going to be in the tower and this wasn't an error on their part. So, now that I said that it's just a minor book change, I'm going to complain about a minor book change. I am really incredibly disappointed in Arthur Dayne's sword. In my trailer breakdown, I pointed out Arthur Dayne was dual wielding, and people kept telling me over and over again that I was wrong. It wasn't Arthur. And I am really pissed that I wasn't wrong. That sword sucked. Hey, look at that fucking epic sword that is almost as tall as a grown man, forged from the heart of a dying star and as pale as milk glass. Oh, no, wait. That just looks like a generic sword with a sun on its pommel. My bad. I let go of a lot of plot changes. Whatever, you can't be 100% faithful to the books, and I wouldn't want them to, because what works in the books doesn't necessarily work in TV shows. It's the same thing with comics, that I don't get really pissed off when they change costumes or storylines from the comics to the movies. It doesn't work. They're different mediums. It's okay for there to be change. Just give us the fucking sword. You just had to give us a fucking sword. That's all you had to do. We don't give a shit that you changed dialogue. There was only a little bit of who fucking gives a shit? Oh, it's 2 versus 6. Give us that goddamn sword. That's all we wanted. We want to see Dawn. That's all we wanted to see. Why'd you do that? Why'd you hurt us like that? You want to know what? I don't think you're a nice person. And speaking of book changes that bother people, I didn't think the shape of the tower bothered me when I watched the episode. I saw it and I was like, it's not round, but who gives a shit? It was probably the best place they could find to film the scenes, and it worked well, and it was like, whatever. It's fine. And then a little bit later, after watching the episode, I went and played a game, and it was a word association game, and somebody said round, and I said, oh, Tower of Joy, and someone went back, the Tower of Joy wasn't round, and I may have screamed, it is in the fucking book! So, I'm taking it that was the heat of the moment, and not because the shape of a fucking tower actually bothered me. I just don't know anymore. I just don't know. The fight, though, was much better than others we've seen. The sword twirling on Arthur Dayne's part was getting a bit distracting, but they didn't do that stupid thing where they attack the single guy one-on-one. Nope. All of Ned's remaining party kept attacking Arthur. Very impressive. And Arthur is supposed to be impressive. And I think despite that damn sword, they really got that across. Arthur was very impressive, so high five to them. Or low five, or whatever we do nowadays in our society that is deemed as cool. I give that to you, showrunners. And I love Bran being so confused while watching Ned versus Arthur Dayne. He's better than my father. Far better. But he beat him. Did he? And then Howland Reed shanks him from behind. I don't think this was a surprise. We knew for a long time Howland had saved Ned. I am a bit curious why they changed that with Bran and why he's so confused about what happened. In the books, Bran knows. He remembers his father saying, "They called him the Sword of the Morning, and he would have killed me, but for Howland Reed." So Book Bran knows that Howland came to Ned's rescue, and without Howland, he would have never been able to defeat Arthur Dayne. But in the show, that's different. Ned, I guess, didn't share that part about Howland, which the showrunners confirmed that's what they wanted. So I'm guessing they made this change to make a statement. There is the history that people know, and then there is the actual history. And I think it was really clever to change what Bran knew in order to push that forward and say, this is a theme, this is what's going on, this is what Bloodraven is trying to show him. There's history, and then there's history. I also think seeing Reed take care of Arthur was incredibly important. He did it in a sneaky, dishonorable way. Even Bran is shocked. Ned is upset. Clearly on his face, he disapproves of what Reed did. But this is a man that just got done for almost a year fighting a rebellion against a man that killed his father, brother, and wanted him and his best friend dead. He's come all this way. He has watched thousands of people die. Our Ned is willing to die for honor. But this is where we first see Ned realizing some things are worth more than his own honor, like his family, like his sister. And this was one of the most powerful moments of this episode. Ned doesn't agree at first with what Reed did. He looks a bit disgusted. But then he steps forward and finishes off Dayne. And really, the actor who played young Ned killed it. That sad, determined look. A man that knows what he has to do, but it still hurts him to do it. So casting-wise, brilliant choice. Also props to Ned for rocking the same haircut for all those years. Takes a special kind of dedication. Another fascinating thing about the scene is when Ned goes to climb the tower after hearing his sister scream, Bran calls out to him and Ned stops, looking behind him. There's been a lot of discussion on whether Bran can actually change the past, and if he does, did he really, or was he always meant to change it? Lots of confusing time travel stuff, but Bran's voice has reached people before. And in that moment when Bran shouted and Ned stopped, Bloodraven looked frightened of what Bran had done. Like, genuinely frightened. He quickly takes him out of the vision and gives him a speech about how the past has already been written and the ink is dry. Now I'm wondering if Bloodraven knows Bran can change the past, but doesn't want him to. This could be because of the potential damage it could do. You start altering and rewriting the past, and trouble can start. Or it gives someone too much power. Power they shouldn't have. This could tie into how he's always making sure Bran isn't in a vision too long. He worries if Bran knows he has the power to influence the past, he could be lost in it, attempting to change things. Bloodraven's line about how they will visit the tower again some other time makes me really hopeful. I do believe we're going to see what's inside the tower this season, and I would guess maybe episode 5 because of the title and the fact that it's the same director. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of more hoping than know for sure, but I do think we're going to see more of the Tower of Joy this season. His line to Bran saying, "Do you think I wanted to sit here for 1,000 years watching a world from a distance while a tree grew through me," was a bit suspicious. I don't know if this is just an exaggeration, like, yeah, it felt like forever. Finally you came. I've been looking through thousands of years, and it really starts to mess with your sense of time. George R. R. Martin also uses 1,000 years quite a bit to describe things that weren't 1,000 years ago, so maybe D&D picked up on that. Because if he's really Brendan Rivers, he's not 1,000 years old. But I think that this is no longer important because we don't have Aegon, we don't really have the Blackfires, we don't have any of that storyline going on. I don't think they've made it very apparent to show watchers that the Blackfires were ever important. So I feel like they're just streamlining it, and it really wouldn't matter if he's Brendan Rivers or not, and the Blackfires don't really matter either, because I don't think we're even going to delve into that plot line. So he could have literally meant, hey, I've been here for 1,000 years. It could have been an exaggeration. I think either way, it's not really going to turn out to be important. I am enthused, though, that he reinforced that Bran won't be in the cave forever, because I am still hoping for a very awkward Stark family reunion. Daenerys, not a lot of exciting stuff happening yet. I did enjoy the direction they took with the widows. They could have been cruel to her, mocking her, but they remembered what it was like to be her age, to believe she was going to rule the world alongside her husband. Bringing a softer side to them and not making them a group of super bitchy evil women, I think was nicely done. Super convenient that Daenerys was captured at the same time that all of them are converging together to discuss future plans. That time in Daenerys. You have got it down. Meereen, seeing Varys deal with the woman to get information was fantastic. There is a reason he's always been an effective master of whisperers. I never thought about how awkward Melisandre and Grey Worm's relationship would be until that scene with Tyrion. They talk about patrol. What a whirlwind romance, and just how enthusiastic they are about it. Yeah, we talk about patrol. And what I see on it. And Tyrion is just sitting there so out of his element thinking, oh my god, what have I gotten myself into? And now they have to deal with the struggle of holding Meereen while dealing with the other cities that are trying to get them out of Meereen. They're just not fighting one city but multiple. And those cities are fairly wealthy. I am a bit curious if they are eventually going to be forced out of the city or if we're going to see the battle outside of the city. I don't really know where they're going with this, but we do know that they are going to start to be attacked. So I'm wondering if that is going to lead to, as what they said when talking to Tyrion and Varys, saying they only understand one language, and Tyrion might have to answer with that language. I guess we'll see. King's Landing, first with Qyburn. Holy heck, I love seeing the little birds. Them dipping more into how Varys got his information was appreciated, and the trades of secrets for candy was just wow. I definitely imagine Qyburn as that creepy guy with the white van and the candy. They finally called Zombie Guy by his name, which I was really surprised that now they're just going around saying, yeah, no, this is Sir Gregor. Oh, he's dead? Nobody knows that. No, he's fine. Why does he look so different and his flesh is all pale and gross looking? You know, it's really not polite to comment on people's appearances, and I would appreciate it if you left the room. Yeah, that was super rude. And I think the reason why they're calling him by his first name is to set us up for Clegane Bowl. Fucking get hype. Sorry, I was told that my hype was reaching inappropriate levels. I will try to calm down. Let me say it again. I feel as if that they called him by his first name because they are setting up for a Clegane Bowl. And at this Clegane Bowl, there may or may not be hype. I will patiently wait to see, and I am moderately excited to see where it goes. Jaime didn't really seem fazed by him, but I guess he survived the Dorne plotline, so now nothing surprises him. He's seen things. Badly scripted and choreographed things. Cersei being shut down was just so magnificent. She tried to worm her way onto the small council, and the older generation was just having none of it. I'm not usually one for fart humor, but I actually really did enjoy Pycelle's nervous fart. Very in character for him. The Queen of Thorns is back, which I'm very excited for, and in a behind-the-scenes talk for Season 5 DVD, they said that Mace was pretending to be dumb and was actually a lot more clever than what he leads on to be, so I'm really hoping that those two are starting to plot together, and then along with Kevin, they're going to make Cersei's life a living hell, and she is going to have to try very hard with Jaime and her other little minions to try to counter that. And I'm guessing at this point, I'm not really sure if this is going to happen, but I think this is going to lead to Cersei getting Qyburn to use his little birds, or maybe even her little zombie friend, to kill at least Kevin, maybe Pycelle, and maybe the Queen of Thorns. But I can definitely see her taking out Kevin in some way in order to get some power back. I think the worst part of this scene was hearing about Dorne, and the fact that the Sand Snakes now control Dorne and are on that fucking throne. Can we just forget about Dorne? Dorne? What Dorne? Dorne isn't part of the Seven Kingdoms. You are mistaken, good sir. Dorne is part of Essos. It's part of Essos. Then Tommen with the High Sparrow. He is being manipulated so hard. Please don't make Tommen a Baelor the Blessed. Please. The High Sparrow knows exactly what to do to get what he wants. With Jaime, he used the threat of violence. With Tommen, he knew words were enough. And Tommen ate right out of his hand. I am really hoping that Tommen is not now being manipulated by the High Sparrow and that it's going to work, because now we just have a clusterfuck. We have the king with the High Sparrow, we have Cersei with Jaime and Qyburn and her undead friend along with her children playline. Insert something clever. Pretend like I said something clever about the little birds. And then we have the older generation on the council, so it's going to be a little bit of a shit show, especially with the Tyrell army mixed in there, and... Okay, maybe this is going to be a fun shit show. Never mind. Yeah, let Tommen be suckered by the High Sparrow, because I want to see this all just go to shit. Arya, I played the Eye of the Tiger song in my head during her training montage. We saw her working even blinded, which was a fun part in the books, her figuring out how to go about her duties while being blinded. The waif looked angry and upset when Arya was advancing and fighting back. That is a bit concerning, almost as if she wanted her to fail, but she also might be a little upset that Arya is learning so quickly and bested her. I'm happy Arya got her eyes back, a little confused about her drinking from the pool to gain her eyes back, but okay, I guess, whatever. We got a cool training montage, and now a pool filled with poison brings eyesight back. Whatever. It's all cool. Advancing that storyline. Let's do this. Lastly, Ramsay and Winterfell. There is something going on with Small John Umber. He refuses to kneel. He refuses to swear any oaths. I think we're getting D&D's version of the North Remembers, and I think the Umbers are going to screw over Ramsay. I'm not exactly sure why they would turn over Rickon to do that, but I can see a few plans where that would be necessary, especially to get Ramsay's trust. And when they turn on him, oh, sorry, I didn't kneel. I didn't make any oaths. The North remembers, cunt. I also have my suspicions about Rickon's direwolf that look too small to be his direwolf, but I know the sizes of them have changed radically from time to time in the show, and it hasn't been very consistent, but I'm willing to bet a small calculated amount that isn't actually his direwolf. I am afraid Ramsay will try to make Rickon into Reek 2.0 or 3.0 if you go by the books, or 4.0 if you go by other theories. I don't think straight out killing Rickon is enough for Ramsay, and Ramsay may have other plans. If the Umbers are still loyal to the Starks, they are taking a huge risk, but it's a calculated risk, and it's similar to the calculated risk that Wyman Manderley took, even though he then starts to get a little more aggressive about it, but in the beginning he was actually taking a more calculated risk. Technically you could still consider it calculated even with the end events, but anyways, let's continue on. I do have a random question. The Umbers hate wildlings. They have Rickon. Why the hell did the Umbers keep Osha alive if they are loyal to the Boltons? They don't need her. She's a wildling. Screw her. Even if they don't know she's a wildling, there's no point to keeping her around. Unless they're using her as further verification for his identity, but that just seems a bit silly. If they are actually loyal to the Boltons and we're going to see Jon Snow and wildling friends versus Boltons, Umbers, Karstarks, maybe Manderleys, I might be a little let down. We've seen zero fallout this season from the Red Wedding and Ned's death. Last season, we got one old lady saying the North remembers. The Red Wedding was huge and had a lasting impact, as well as the Norse love for the Starks. I want to see some damn North remembers. Also, Ramsay's line about how he prefers redheads, at first I was like, yeah! And then I thought, oh no. So those are my thoughts. You can write yours below. What did you like? What did you dislike? What kind of set you on edge? What were some things that you were kind of like, maybe it could have been done better? What made you scream like a little girl that just got her first teddy bear? Was that sexist? I don't know. So giveaway, in the past I had given away posters and t-shirts, but it just was a pain in the ass to deal with the companies for getting them to ship stuff out. So I'm trying to move away from that stuff. So I figured the easiest thing to do would be like a $20 gift card to Amazon, and that way I can just email you it, and we don't have to worry about shipping or waiting for it. It can just be done and it's taken care of. So if you want to enter for a chance to win a $20 gift card to Amazon where you can buy tons of cool shit, including the book series or even a cool little Funko Pop like the ones behind me, all you have to do is write in the comments section below how you think Ramsay is going to die this season, and it can be as ridiculous as you want. I don't care. If you think aliens are going to come down and just anally probe him and then destroy him from the inside and maybe use him as a breeding cow. I'm going a little too far with these examples, I apologize. Anything you want, just write in the comment section below, and then I will pick a winner randomly and I will announce it next episode review. So besides that, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel out a lot. You can subscribe and come back for more Game of Thrones videos, comic videos, Star Wars videos, and anything sci-fi fantasy related.